A big hello to all of you. This is our second session of economics, that is the theory of demand. In our last session, we discussed definition, scope, and nature of economics. And in this session, picking up from there, we will go through the theory of demand, its background, various concepts that support it, and the terminology that is associated with it. So let us begin this session with a very basic question, that what is demand? Demand can be defined in different ways. As per one definition, demand is defined as the willingness and ability of a consumer to purchase a given product in a given frame of time. In economics, demand is a term that means the amount of goods that consumers desire and can afford to buy over a range of prices. So basically, there are 5 elements of demand for a good or a service. The first element is the desire. The consumer must have a desire or a willingness to buy a product. That is the first requirement in the creation of the demand for a product. The second element is the means. The consumer must have means, that is the money or the purchasing power, to buy a product without which only a desire to purchase that product carries little significance. The third element of demand is the willingness to buy. The consumer must have a taste or a preference for that product, which will then instigate the consumer to purchase it by paying it a price. So, the fourth element is the price. Every product has a price which needs to be paid by the consumer to the producer directly or indirectly to obtain it. So a price is always associated with the demand of a product or a service. The last element of demand is time period. A demand for a product is always with reference to a certain time frame. A person may need a product today but may not want it, say, after 3 years. So, a product must be in demand today, but that demand may or may not be maintained after a certain time period. Therefore, time period is another important element of demand. A demand is determined by certain factors which are known as the determinants of demand. Most important ones are price of the good or the service. Second, income of the consumer. Third, price of the related goods. Fourth, taste or preference of the consumer. And fifth one is the number of consumers of that particular good or service in the market. So let us discuss these determinants one by one. The first determinant is the price. The price of the item, in many cases, is likely to be the most fundamental determinant of the demand, since it is often the first thing that people think about when deciding which item to buy or how much of that item to buy. The vast majority of goods and services obey what economists call the law of demand. That is, all else being equal, the quantity demanded of an item decreases when the price increases, and vice versa. That is, the quantity demanded of an item increases when the price decreases. So, if all other factors are considered constant, if there is an increase in the price of the item, there is a decrease in the demand of that item. Vice versa, if there is a decrease in the price of the item, there is an increase in the item's demand. So, if we plot a graph between the price of the product and its quantity demanded, with the price plotted on the y-axis and the quantity demanded on the x-axis, this is the kind of graph that we are going to obtain. It is shown in red color here. As we can see in the graph, as the price of the product recedes, there is a rise in the quantity of the product demanded. The second determinant of the demand of a product is the income of the consumer who purchases that product. People certainly look at their incomes when deciding how much of an item to buy. But the relationship between the income and the demand isn't as straightforward as one might think. Economists categorize various goods as normal goods or inferior goods, and the effect of change in the income of the consumer on these two types of goods is also different. So normal goods are the luxury items and high-tech products such as holiday packages, cars, jewelry, electronic gadgets, lifestyle products, etc. So if there is an increase in the income of the consumer, the capacity of the consumer to purchase such goods also increases. The consumer is more likely to purchase such goods with a higher purchasing power. So there is an increase in the demand of such goods with the increase in the consumer's income. Similarly, if there is a decrease in the income of the consumer is less likely to purchase such products due to lesser purchasing power. So there is a decrease in the demand of the normal goods. The second type of the goods other than normal goods are the inferior goods, which are often associated with lower socioeconomic strata, such as cheap clothing, low-cost food items, bus fares, etc. In case there is an increase in the income of the consumer of such products, the consumer is more likely to buy better quality products. So there will be a decrease in the demand of such goods. Contrary to it, if there is a decrease in the income of the consumer of the inferior goods, the consumer is more likely to buy such low quality products rather than better quality products which are priced higher. So the demand of such inferior goods is going to increase. As we can see, the effect of the change in the income of the consumer on inferior goods is opposite to that on the normal goods. The next determinant of demand that we are going to discuss is the price of the related goods. When deciding the quantity of a good to be purchased, people take into account the prices of both the substitute goods as well as the complementary goods. The key feature of substitute goods and complementary goods is the fact that a change in price of one of the goods has an impact on the demand for the other good. Let us first consider the substitute goods. Substitute goods are those goods that can be used in place of one another. For example, Coke and Pepsi. Both of them are soft drinks. So if a consumer doesn't have a very strong brand loyalty, a consumer can easily switch from one drink to another. So let us first see the effect of change in the price of the related goods on substitute goods. Suppose there is an increase in the price of Coke. Its demand would then decrease. Some of the consumers who drink Coke will now start drinking Pepsi because Coke is priced higher now. So the demand for Pepsi will increase even though its price does not change. Therefore, we can say that an increase in price of a good leads to a decrease in its demand, but an increase in demand of the substitute good, although the price of the substitute good remains constant. Similarly, suppose the price of Coke decreases. Now more consumers will opt for Coke, thus increasing its demand. Now those consumers who drink Pepsi will now drink Coke since its price is lower. So the demand for Pepsi will decrease even if its price remains the same. Therefore, we can say that a decrease in the price of a good will lead to an increase in its demand, but a decrease in the demand of the substitute good even though the price of the substitute good remains the same.